Well, I'm going to end off that poll. So it looks like 38% of you have run an event, 63% haven't. That doesn't quite add up to 100, does it? On an event for accountants, we should get that right. Well, we can blame Zoom for that. Even my poor mathematics can work that one out. So it looks like, yeah, 2/3 have never done an event, something like that, as we close that off. So hopefully, what we're going to do today is share some tips on how to run an event. I'll give you, some of my ideas, and Wayne, who's done a bunch of events, is going to share some of his. So let's get into it. We've got a lot to cover today. So what we're going to cover today in the session is the why, the who, the when, what, and how of running events, running Xero events. So look, why run an event? Look, there's lots of marketing you could be doing. I'm going to explain why an event is something that is really powerful. We're going to look at who you should invite to your events. So we're actually talking about attracting new clients. So who to invite and how to do that. When, so when's the best time of day? When are the best days of the week? When to avoid in terms of running events. Those are the little details that can make a big difference to how well they do. The what, so the what I'm talking about here, what's the event content? We're talking about Xero events, but what should you be including in your event? And I'll share some of my ideas, and Wayne can tell you what he actually did in the firm that he used to run. And finally, we'll look at the how. So, we're going to split down into 3 parts: what you need to do before the event, on the day, and afterwards to make sure it's a big success. So you can see Wayne there. Is that the same hat, Wayne? No, it looks like a different hat.
No, I've changed the hat. I lost that one.
Oh dear. So Wayne's got his trademark hat on, but so a little bit about Wayne. He founded a firm called Findlay & Co. in 2001, and they were still are one of New Zealand's leading Xero firms. Won a bunch of Xero awards, including one for marketing. And in growing that firm, used to do a lot of events. Sold the firm in 2018 to Sidekick Group, which is another big Xero firm in New Zealand. And so it's still going strong. And just before then, it launched the Back Room. So we'll hear a little bit more about the Back Room at the end. But basically, it's an offshoring company with a team in Clark in the Philippines that specialize in offshoring, what some people might call outsourcing. For Xero firms. And if you want to hear, if you want to talk to Wayne about offshoring, then there's his email on screen, wayne@thebackroomop.com. You can make a note of that now, but I'll be sharing that at the end, and we'll send an email out as well, so you've got all of his details. So don't worry about getting that down right now. So that's a little bit about Wayne. About myself. Basically, I'm the founder and CEO of Biz Inc. We've helped several hundred accounting firms with marketing, websites, and so hopefully I've learned a little bit of few things about how to market your firm. And one of those would be events. So I'm going to be sharing some of that stuff that I've learned, and then chatting to Wayne about what he actually did in his firm. So let's get into it. And as I said, we're going to start with the why. Why should you run events? And I'm going to give you like 4 reasons why I think you should run events, and then we'll see what Wayne thinks. But the first one is that I think that people buy from people. It's a cliche, right? But it's a cliche because it's true. And I'd say to you, how many of your clients have you won without meeting them? I'm going to guess that you've pretty much met all of the clients that you work with, because as an accountant or a bookkeeper, as a Xero practice, you're in the relationships business, and the best way to build relationships, which is really about building trust, I think that's best done in person. That's just human nature, and so events is a chance to get in front of people. Second thing is that I think events are future-proof. So I actually really hate the phrase future-proof. I think people use it with technology, and it's a nonsense, right? So people say to us, "Can you make us a website that's future-proof?" And that's how I can't predict the future in terms of technology. What I can predict is that people don't change. So a phrase that I really like is that times change, but people don't. People are still driven by the same things. And so that's why I think getting in front of people and using that kind of marketing, it's going to work in 2020, it's going to work in 2030, it's always going to work. And that's different than some of the kind of marketing fads that you'll see and you will have seen over the years. Third reason is that I think that showing is better than telling. So that's like sales 101, is that, rather than telling someone what something does, you try and show them. So we're talking about Xero, right? And Xero is cool, especially when you're an accountant or a bookkeeper. Xero is really cool. But is it if you just try and explain it to a client? If you just tell them about what Xero is, it's just accounting software to them until you show them the cool stuff that it does. Like show them how quick it is to reconcile a bank transaction or something like that, or one of the add-ons that makes their life way easier. So I think that's what you can do in an event. You can show people rather than just telling them. And that's really powerful. And finally, I think that events are repeatable, because all of that above stuff that I've just talked about, people don't change, relationships are really important. Events just keep on working. And that's why they're like the mainstay of professional services marketing for accountants, for bookkeepers, for lawyers. That's why they use events. So I guess they're my whys. Interested to know, Wayne, like why did you first decide to start running events when you were part of Findlay & Co?
There was a couple of reasons, Matt. I think you're right with that. People buy from people, and it's a good way for potential clients to get a touch of you, to feel you out, see what you're about before they make the big purchase. So from a new client strategy, it was good to invite, people. If you could get people that are non-clients to your events, then they'd get to see you in person, and you always had a chance at the end to sort of have a one-on-one with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we started up a new office in Christchurch, which is about 500 kilometres from here, instead of buying a practice, we thought, no, let's market and acquire clients, that way through marketing. And so we used that as a strategy, events to get new clients. So that was a specific, we targeted a niche industry basically to get clients. And,
cool.
And that was a way for them to again get that touch with us, and then we'd get them as clients later on.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll talk about some of that specific stuff later on. But yeah, so when did you actually first start running them? So the firm launched in 2001. When did you first start getting into doing events?
It probably wasn't till about a year after Xero got going. So that might have been around 2010, I think, really, 2011. We found we liked Xero, so we used Xero as an opportunity to sort of branch off and put ourselves out as being the guys that knew Xero. Yep. So we used that strategy in Wanaka and Queenstown, which was quite close. And then when we went to Christchurch after the earthquake in Christchurch, that was when we used that strategy as well, used our Xero expertise. Yeah. All
right, cool. We'll talk about that a little bit more soon. So I think that there's lots of whys for running events, but yeah, just repeat that they're just something that just works, and sometimes the old tried and tested stuff that might be seen as kind of old fashioned or boring or whatever, there's a reason for that, and that's because it works. So next, who to invite, right? Obviously we're going to have an event. We need to get people there. So I've put clients at the top. We're not talking about client events here. We're talking about events that attract new clients. But I thought I'd just touch on it because I think you can invite clients and ask them to like bring a friend. That's one way to get people along, particularly if you don't have a great database of leads. That's a good way to maybe get some people along and maybe practice doing an event in front of a friendlier audience. I mean, not to say that, you know, people who aren't your clients aren't going to be friendly to you, but it feels like a safer place to do it, right? And you know, in terms of clients, again, I say we're not talking about that today, but I do think client events are an amazing way to sell more to existing clients and also just keep them engaged so they don't churn. That's just such an important part of the professional services model, right? You know, high acquisition cost, but you're trying to keep people for a long time. So doing events can keep them engaged and stop them churning. But I think, you know, obviously to attract new clients, you're going to have to invite prospects along to events, and we'll hear what Wayne did around that shortly. But few things that I'd have a look at. I mean, if it were me and I were running an accounting firm and I was doing an event, I would definitely focus on a niche or an industry. I know you hear this stuff a lot, but let me explain why I think that would be really powerful in terms of an event. Number one, you can make the content really specific. So, you know, you just do an event about Xero for just small businesses. I'm not saying that's not worthwhile, but you know, it's quite generic and lots of people are going to take different things from that. If you do something that's really specific, then people are more likely to come along because it really talks to their issues, their pain points, their challenges. Example I would give is like, think about this webinar that you've come to today. You know, this is a webinar that's really specific. It's about events. It's about events for accountants and bookkeepers. And actually a subset of that is it's for Xero accountants and bookkeepers. So that's a super niche webinar. Now, I imagine today, this week, this month, there are tens and hundreds of webinars about how to run an event. But why did you come to this one rather than those? It's because it's really specific to you. And that's just the same with client events. And the final part why I'd say the niche or industry thing really works is that we talk about the prospect map, right? Your prospect map is working out where your prospects are. So if you say it's all small businesses in my area, how do you find them? I mean, there are ways to do that, of course, but if you say and Wayne will talk about events that he did for construction workers or tradies, as we call them in this part of the world, it's real easy to know where they are. You know, you're looking for a very specific thing. You can look on directories, you can Google them, you can do all of that stuff. But that's those two reasons. First of all, making an event that's got more appeal, and second, making it easy to find the people to invite to that event. That's why I would go pretty narrow on the topic. Final thing I'm just going to say before let Wayne have his say is I'd also invite to an event like referral partners, like say bankers and lawyers and those people who might pass you leads, because you know, for all the reasons that we looked at in the last slide in terms of why to run an event, you know, relationship building, demonstrating your expertise, that kind of stuff. All of that applies to your referral partners as well as clients and prospects. So, you know, why does, let's say, a lawyer pass leads to you as an accountant or bookkeeper? It's because they trust you and it's because they got a good relationship with you. And getting them along to your event, you can build those relationships and do it at a bit more scale than just like the one-on-one meeting all the time. So, you know, you used to run client events and prospect events. That's right,
Yep.
Isn't it, Wayne?
Yes. Yep. Correct.
So how did you get people along so you have clients, you know, I can imagine how you do that, you know, you email them, you call them or whatever, but for people who were prospects, how did you start to get those along to your events?
A variety of ways. One, you mentioned focusing on a niche. So that's what we did. If we focus on Christchurch, how we went there. So we focused on the tradies, the construction industry. So that was good from a marketing point of view, because then you could target those specific clients. So it was a matter of looking them up either on the internet, doing a Google search, or going through Yellow Pages, which is like a directory listing, doing some, what do you call it? It's lead management, isn't it? Just finding a database of builders,
Yeah.
working in with industry people like the certified builders. So we would get a list of prospects, you would call them, and then we would market to them with our event. We would do other things like where there was a big subdivision and a lot of building going on, we would, our girl Sonia, who was sort of our manager in Christchurch, would have a sausage sizzle, which is like a barbecue if you, and all the builders would show up for their sausages and bread and tomato sauce, and then Sonia would, hand out a pamphlet for when our next event was on, and so we would get them that way. So it was a combination of things. Facebook was another good one. We used Facebook quite a lot. How
did you use Facebook? Were you doing Facebook ads, or were you like reaching out to people? How are you using that?
Yeah, it was a combination, Facebook ads and reaching out. We would put our event up on Facebook. We had, Anna, who worked with us. She was our event coordinator. We just hired her on a part-time basis to organise our events, and so she would organise the Facebook ads as well, and that was quite successful. We'd get a lot of people along from that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I think, beyond events, there's a lot to kind of take on from what Wayne's saying there, is that I know a lot of firms we talk to don't have a database of prospects. They've obviously got a database of clients, but for me, like, one of your key marketing goals should be to have a list of, whether you call it a leads database, a prospects database, but people who you'd like to work with that you're building over time. It should be growing. And like the example Wayne gave, the reason why Christchurch as well, for anyone who doesn't know why that was an opportunity around construction, in 2010, there was quite a large earthquake, and I'd just moved to Christchurch from the UK at that point, and what people don't tell you is that an earthquake isn't a singular event. I think it was about 7,000 while I lived there. So the city got pretty destroyed, and there was actually, I guess you could call it an upside for the construction industry, was a huge building boom after that. Massive amount of builders going in there from all over the country, and that's what Wayne was able to tap into with these events and the other marketing that he did.
Yeah. It was at the time of the GFC, so, and a lot of our builders, our clients that were in Wanaka, were going to Christchurch to work. So it was, we saw that, really, if we want to survive and continue as a firm, we need to do something about, otherwise we'll lose clients. So that was another reason why we went to Christchurch at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
You talked about referral partners, Matt, and I think that was quite an important way for us to get clients as well, or prospects. And we found the banks really good from that point of view. So we would talk to their commercial or business bankers, and we had good relationship with all the major banks, and so we would invite them along to our events, or ask them to distribute our events through their network, and they would do that. And that was another way we got quite a lot of prospects to our events.
Yeah, cool. Well, we'll talk about the value exchange, and I think that's really important in there, is that giving away a lot of value, because that value is, if you're a banker, you might not have a lot to contact clients about, but if you can put them onto an interesting event, that's something that's really valuable to them. So, that's a great relationship to have.
Yeah, and the local Chamber of Commerce or your chambers are quite good too, and they will market events on your behalf. So you send them what you've got on, and then they'll distribute it out to all their members. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. Well, moving on to when to run events. So thing I'd say here is you could ask 100 people this question and get 100 different answers. So I'm interested to know what you guys think. So going to run another poll here. What day of the week do you prefer to attend business events on? So that will pop up in just a second. And while we're talking, you can fill that in. What day of the week do you prefer to run business events on? There we go. I included Saturday and Sunday. I'm interested if anyone wants to do that. I'm not sure if they will, but look, I think so. There's going to be lots of different answers come out here, and I think there's some general rules that apply. So my general rules would be, well, number one is that the time is going to depend on your audience. So say your audience is construction or trades people, like Wayne was talking about, morning is probably a bad time. It tends to be certainly, I think in Australia, New Zealand, tradespeople get up quite early and finish quite early. Probably go to the pub after that. And then the people who work in the pubs, hospitality, if you're going to run an event for hospitality businesses, they're going to probably be working in the evening. So you wouldn't want to run an event for them in the evening, something like that. So I think generally the times of day for me would be like before and after work are the best times. There's kind of like a breakfast meeting or 5 p.m. sort of just after work finishes. I personally would avoid Monday and Friday for events, and generally in marketing, I don't like those as days to do marketing on. Thursday's actually the day I prefer, and looks like that's coming out top in the poll. So maybe if we close off the poll now. So Thursday, a third of you said that, and you can see the results on screen there. That's always been the day I like to run an event on, because I think it's, Monday, people are just getting over the weekend and getting busy. Friday, that came out as the second most popular, but the only problem I see with Friday is often people will take that off, or they get to the end of the week and they really wanted to come to your event, and then they're just like, oh, I'm super tired, I'm going to just go home instead. But yeah, maybe I'm wrong. That's just my opinion. Last thing I'd say is that, do some research before you pick your date. Obviously, you want to avoid a public holiday or even the week that a public holiday is on, because, often people, you've got Thanksgiving coming up in the US next week. People will often take off maybe the week before, the week after to kind of make the most of that statutory leave time. And also check if it clashes with other events. We've had that happen with one of ours, where one of our competitors was running an event on the same day. We'd have been better off to just speak to them, because it wasn't good for either of us to have done that. We just kind of split our attendance. So did you use any special timings for your events, Wayne?
Yeah, for our Xero, we call them workshops, or how to do Xero or Xero. Then we run workshops on training. We would do them after work at 5 o'clock. And for our tradies, we did a tradies breakfast, which was worked quite well. And so we would go to a local pub or bar and have breakfast and with the tradies and do a presentation. That was really good. So that worked well. We wouldn't get too many along. It was a smaller group, but it was quite effective. And the other ones, we used to run some events in conjunction with Placemakers, which is a big building type supplier. And they used to run a breakfast, and we would attend those and speak at those events, which was that was quite good, because you'd have quite a large audience at those ones. Yeah. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, a variety, but it was always before and after, never during the work hours.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, moving on, we're gonna have a look at what the event content is. So look, we could talk all day on this topic. I'm just going to give you some general tips, a couple of my ideas, and we'll see what Wayne did as well. So look, we're talking about running Xero events here, and the first thing I'd say is go to Xero and see what resources they can give you on this stuff, because they provide quite a lot. Now, I was talking at XeroCon in San Diego earlier this year, And I was talking about events, and I was saying that Xero have got this events toolkit, like you can see on screen here, where they give you the slide deck, emails, all the stuff that you need to run an event. And then Wayne said to me, well, that's actually very similar to the one you guys were using kind of back in like 2011, 12,
Xero,
right?
they've done it for you, really, haven't they? They've got the content there.
Yeah. And so I think that's on the US site, what I've got on screen there. It varies from country to country, but it is available in all of those countries, just not in the same place. So I can't point you to a link. The best thing would be to reach out to your account manager, and they will help you with that. And I think you got a lot of help from your Xero account manager, right, Wayne?
Yeah, we did. Raywin helped us a lot, and she would come along and speak at our events as well. Which, for a start, when you're new to events, it can be a bit, you're a bit nervous. So Raywin, who'd speaking at a lot of events, was great. She would come in and do a lot of the talking, and then you would just finish up and do a bit of a talk about yourself. So it was
cool.
Good. Yeah,
that really helps, right? Isn't it? It's like, if you have to plan an event, that plan what you're going to say, it's quite hard. If someone just sort of does a Q&A with you as a way to get into them, that can make things a lot easier.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, that works really well.
Yeah. One little tip I'd throw in there as well, which is I joined earlier this year's Toastmasters. So that should be available in every country that people are joining from today. I would think it's a global organization, which very inexpensive to join and gives you a chance to practice public speaking. I think it's really good. I've been badgering Camilla and the rest of my team to get involved in it, but it's really good, and they've got chapters all over the world. So yeah, Toastmasters is really good if you want to get confidence in public speaking in a friendly environment before you get in front of a load of prospects, which might be a bit scarier.
B&I is like that too, Matt.
Okay.
B&I, you have you're supposed to do a 30-second, 1-minute presentation every time you go to a breakfast once a week, but then once every 2 or 3 months, you have to do a full presentation to your B&I group. So I recommend B&I was good. It definitely helped with your presentation and confidence.
I think it's good to take every opportunity you can to talk in front of people. I think it's beyond doing events. It's a really good thing to do. And it is definitely one of those things that it's a bit scary at first, the second time, not so bad. And then once you've done it a few times, it's pretty straightforward. You just get used to it. So yeah, I think taking those opportunities to do that. And, you mentioned talking at the Placemakers event. We're talking about running, I guess, your own event, but there's always those opportunities to be a guest, kind of like you're doing today on this webinar. They're a good way to sort of get someone else to maybe do a lot of the prep and the grunt work, and then you can come in and do your bit. So want to talk about what I call the value exchange. People are giving up their time to come to an event, and for most business owners, time is their most valuable thing. Certainly for me, it is. And I think, a lot of you are business owners yourselves, you would fully understand that that's very valuable. So if someone's going to give up their time, you need to give them back at least that value in your event. So the way I'd like to think about it is, if someone's going to take time out from their business, their family, their leisure time, are you giving them enough in return? And so when you think about what your event content should be, that's your kind of standard that you're trying to meet. So I think, event that's just about Xero explaining kind of what Xero does is not enough. It has to be Xero plus something. And that something should be like a really tangible benefit to the person coming along. So my idea, I'll throw a couple out there that I think would meet that standard. So for me, an event on how to get paid faster using Xero, that's something I think is really valuable. every business owner wants to get paid faster, right? You know, and they get that. Like cash flow is it's kind of jargon, right? You know, if you asked 100 of your clients what cash flow was, you'd get 100 different answers, some right, some wrong, some, you know, whatever. Getting paid faster, everybody understands that. So what could you do in an event? You could do a really short practical event on things like setting payment terms on a Xero invoice, adding a pay now button, automatic reminders, chasing in Xero, that kind of stuff. Already practical. They could do it, you know, as soon as they left the meeting, or, you know, you could help them and get paid to do that. But business owners would love that stuff because they all want to get paid faster. So that's my like Xero plus something. And you could maybe take that, not say further, but do that in a different way through like a niche or an industry. So example would be one of BizInc's clients I was talking to recently ran an event for businesses who sell on Amazon. So Amazon.com, it's a big marketplace there. You know, people literally run the whole business on Amazon.com. And there's an add-on called A2X, which integrates Amazon Marketplace with Xero. So they partnered up with that add-on, ran an event, and got a bunch of Amazon sellers along. So I think those kind of things, that Xero plus what, can be really helpful. And so that would be my recommendation. But interested to know, does that fit with the kind of topics you were running your events on, Wayne?
Yeah, we would have a Xero overview, and then it might be a payroll partner that we had in there, or an add-on. So it might have been someone from a Xero op, you know, which was an add-on to the building industry. We would get them in from time to time. Or else we would have the bank in there talking, and they might talk about different products that they've got in. Insurance companies are a great one as well. They'd come in and talk about insurance or finance. So yeah, we would always try to cover off just more than one topic if possible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, depending on your time constraining. Yeah.
And I think always just like, you know, you've got to put it in terms of what the business would see as a benefit. Just think what they would think. Yeah, that's something that I really want, and that'll get people coming along. So for the last section, we've split it into three. So we're going to have a look at, it's about how to run the event. So we're going to look at before, after, and on the day as well. So before the event, I think there's a few things that there's lots of things you can do, but I would sum it up with the 7 Ps. So 7 Ps is a British Army saying, and what it stands for is proper planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance. So basically, the more effort you put into preparing and planning, the smoother the event is going to go on the day. And, you know, I'm sure Wayne, as somebody who's done quite a few events, I've done quite a few events, there's nothing more stressful than when an event is not going smoothly, like something's broken, like the audio or the food's not turned up. It is like heart-stopping stuff. So I'll talk about it in a bit, like plan for stuff will go wrong, right? So stuff is definitely going to go wrong. So assume it's going to go wrong and have a plan for when it goes wrong. And then even if and when it does, it's going to be okay. So I'll throw a few tips out there. So first of all, I'd be sending out the invites about a month before would be my call. Anything more than like, say, 6 weeks away is too long, in my opinion, because people just forget. So you want it to be like long enough that people can plan, but not too long that it's too far in the future. I'd also charge a fee for a couple of reasons. I think, obviously people have committed to it a little bit more, and I think people in our society value things that they pay for. That's just the way it is. And I think you used to charge a fee for a lot of your events, Wayne.
Yeah, we'd just charge a nominal fee. It might be $25, $50. You're right, you get a better turn up if people, pay the fee. Mm-hmm. and we would have a good giveaway. So we would have a bottle of wine or a voucher or something as a prize. So you get all the business cards, put them in a hat, and draw out a prize. So there was something to come back.
Yeah, cool. What kind of attendance rate did you get in terms of people who said they would come to people actually turned up on the day?
Yeah, once we charged a fee, and we would be up around the 80%. So I reckon.
Yeah, cool. That's very good.
And there's good software too that you can manage it. So we used Eventzilla was what we used, which was free. So so we used that, and that would send reminders, and it would put in a map where you are. So it made it a bit more seamless with the event. That was good.
Yeah, cool. I mean, anything that makes it easier for you or the people coming along is super important. In terms of the venue, like you want all the audio, and I would choose venues that have audio and visual equipment there rather than getting in third parties. And, those people can be really difficult to deal with sometimes, in my experience, those audio visual people. And that's another heart stopper. I was speaking at XeroCon San Diego earlier this year, and I was like one of the first ones on the first day, on day zero before the conference, was doing a workshop, and get in there and the guy's like, we can't use Macs to do the presentations. And you're like, well, I think pretty much everyone in Xero's on a Mac, so you need to get it sorted. In the end, he didn't even sort it. It was like, had to get someone from Xero to actually sort it out 30 seconds before I'm going to go and speak to like 150 people. You really don't want that happening because it doesn't do wonders for your heart. Also check things like, has the venue got good parking or access? I did an event in Brisbane once, and didn't tell us that the whole building was under construction and they didn't have any proper signage or anything like that. So these kind of things can be pretty stressful, but you don't need a fancy venue. And I think you just used to do them in your boardroom, right, Wayne?
Yeah. We found our boardroom better because, one, it gets them into your office. And we like the smaller groups as well. We try not to have too many. So we found, I think a sweet spot for us was probably no more than 15 people.
Yeah.
It was good. Then afterwards, you could have a few drinks and nibbles and a bit of one-on-one. If you have too many more than that, it's too hard to sort of, interact with everybody.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, you mentioned drinks and nibbles. So I think, getting the catering sorted beforehand is really important. And with all of this stuff, double check it. Guarantee it'll go wrong if you don't double check it. We've had food once turn up late to an event. So, again, you don't make that mistake twice. You sort of, you make sure you've called them a few times beforehand and make sure it's all good. So final thing would be to go really hard on the promotion. Wayne shared some of the tactics that they use to get people along to their events. But putting the event in a way, once you've done a few events, the actual event itself is, I think, the easy part. The harder part is getting people there and then following them up. And that's where you make your money. So, you mentioned Eventzilla. You could also, Eventbrite is a very popular tool. On BizInc sites, you can do a registration page on your site and do the emails through there. But, having a system that does that, there's lots of ways to market to people. But just remember that to get people to commit and come along to an event, it's going to take several touches to get them along, and across different channels. So things like email is going to work well. Social, like Wayne mentioned, they use Facebook. So either to contacts, it could be LinkedIn as well, it could be to your contacts, or you could consider running adverts, especially if you're trying to get new prospects in. But also some of the old school tactics like local media and even calling people. So, I mentioned earlier, we live in a pretty small little mountain town here. There's like a couple of newspapers or like a little magazine, pretty low cost to advertise in those places, but people do read them, and you would, could get them along to your event. And calling people as well, either not necessarily cold calling them to get them along, but if they've registered, calling them like a few days before to say, are you coming along? You're definitely going to come, and all of that. That can help keep your attendance rate higher.
Keep it up.
So in terms of on the day, you've done all of that hard work, you've got people there. What are you going to do on the day? So just a few tips I'm going to run through, and we're going to share with you after the event a checklist on this stuff. So we're going to send that to you in an email after the webinar. But stuff I would do would be print name badges for you and your team, and your attendees as well. So that's really just like a nice courtesy to have. You want to register with everyone who's coming along, so tick them off as they come in, and you were trying to remember people's names and that kind of thing. Obviously, you want to get to the venue early. If it's not your own office, check the equipment, the facilities, the catering. Get in the room, familiarize yourself with it. Whenever I'm speaking at an event, I want to go into the room beforehand, talk to the AV people, have a look around, anything that's going to trip me up while I'm speaking. Just going to feel more comfortable when you do the event. Like I said before, stuff's going to go wrong, but as long as you expect it and plan for it, it needn't trip up your whole event. All that stuff being done, I think what you've got to make time for, Wayne alluded to that with running the smaller events. This can work really well. You need to make time for like mingling, making introductions and talking to people. The presentation's important that you're probably going to do, but that kind of networking afterwards is the really important bit. In terms of the presentation, I think keep it nice and short. Deliver your presentation on what the topic you agreed on, but really stick to your timeline. There's nothing worse than events that kind of start late, finish late. They're not what you think. It's not a really good look. So keep it nice and on time, and a short presentation works well. Like, no one's going to like you more because you talked for twice the amount of time. Keep it nice and short. Leave time for a Q&A session at the end if you're doing a presentation, like we'll be doing a Q&A at the end of this. Other things that I'll be doing there will be hopefully get somebody along. You want to be doing the mingling and all of that, but if you can have someone else there to take photos, so you can be sharing those on social media after the event or use them in your marketing, that's really important. And I've seen you with your new business backroom, which you can talk about in a bit, Wayne. You're pretty good at doing those on social, like events that are happening.
Yeah.
You get those out, so you get more bang for your buck from the event.
That's right. It just sort of happens. The other thing with the events is the feedback form. We always used to have a feedback form that would have, like what do you call it? Like an opportunity, like, do you tick this if you want a one-on-one consultation, or if you want to learn more about this, then tick this box.
Yeah.
And to get the prize, you had to fill out the feedback form. So that was a good way. You wouldn't let them leave the room unless they'd filled out the feedback form, because that was where you'd learn more about who was attending. Yeah.
And it's those little details that make all the difference. You could run an event and everyone thought it was great, but if they go away, it's hard to get hold of them. But if they're giving you that form, you've got the permission to talk to them. It's really important. So like a short exit survey, and that call to action in there is super important. So just conscious of time, but I was interested to know, Wayne, did your events always run smoothly, or do you have any kind of funny stories about one going?
No, there was always issues. Yeah. That's why we learned to print out slides. You'd get, something would go wrong with the internet or the IT. You're doing it's like a live demo. You always know something was going wrong. One event was, we had in a bar, and it was right next to a railway line. So we were halfway through a presentation and the train went past, and you couldn't hear anything. It was like for about 5 minutes, just waiting for this train to go by. So yeah, there was always something going on. No, there was another one
Yeah.
where I said, look, I want to record this event. And so I had my dictaphone. This was in the older days, and I went to put it on the water jug, which was close by, so it was centered, and of course the bloody thing fell in the water jug. So it was a great way to start an event. So yeah, no, there's always something that will go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. So the final things after the event, right? So you've done this event, it's gone really well. How do you make sure, because what we're talking about here is how to run an event that attracts new clients. So this is the bit where you make the money, and these are the things that I would do, and then Wayne, you can share some of the things that you used to do. First thing I do is like you want to send a thank you email the next day to everyone who came along. Actually not just everyone who came along. I would send it to everyone who registered as well. So you're going to get you were saying you're 80% attendance,
yeah.
which is really good. It's high. Still 20% who didn't come along. In that 20%, they could be some of the people who could be great clients, and they just couldn't come for whatever reason. They had a business emergency, like a family thing, whatever. So you don't just reject them because they didn't come along. And that email that you send out, in that you want that to repeat that call to action. So say they've come along to, my idea for an event, how to get paid faster, send them in that, do you want us to help you get paid faster? Book a time and we'll show you how to sort this in your Xero. And so, you've got that call to action about the specific thing that they're interested in. Wayne talked about the exit survey questionnaire thing. I would be calling everyone as well. Again, it's that old school stuff that works well, easy to ignore. But if you said, follow me up with a call, well, you should call them, and if you can't get hold of them, keep calling them until you do. It's for most of you guys listening, I imagine you're not wanting like lots of new clients every month. You probably want 1 or 2 quality clients each month. So if you've run an event, say you've done one like Wayne, you got 15 people there, and you can convert even a couple of those into clients. That's what I'm saying is doing things like calling all of them. It's really important because they're your really warm leads. So it's worth putting in that extra effort. Share stuff just like we're going to share after this webinar, the recording, the slides, and some other bits and bobs. Share any useful resources from the event, and obviously do that to like your no-shows as well. And then what we were just talking about then with like the photographs, do a post-event write-up on social media, maybe on your blog. You could send that on your email newsletter. So you're getting that kind of extra bang for your buck out of the event there as well. So what kind of things did you do to follow up the events?
Definitely.
Was that some of the things that you used to?
Yeah, the feedback was great, and you would get the people that went to your event. You would have something planned in 6 weeks' time to invite them along to your next one as well, because they would tell people. So the referral from the people that went to this event, they would go and tell their colleagues and partners or someone else that they knew. So you found that would sort of spread that way. You wouldn't get too many clients from the first one. You might get 1 or 2, but then the contacting them and repeating to contact them, you will get them over time. So the acquisition of these prospects, it's not going to happen overnight. It's something that will happen over time, and that's why you do have to get in contact with them on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's such an important thing to take note of across all marketing, not just events. I'm always saying it, that people buy from you when they're ready, not when you are, which is unfortunate, but it's just the way that business to business marketing is. And especially as an accountant or bookkeeper, like if you're you know, people will only move to you when the time is right for them. It's very hard to kind of change that timing, because it will normally, because either they're getting bad service from their existing supplier, or, you know, some event comes up, not event like this, I mean, some kind of circumstance happens to them, and they're like, right, I need to make this change. And the key then is to be top of mind. So if they've been coming to your events or receiving your marketing, that's the key, is that you're the firm who's top of mind when that timing becomes right.
Yeah, it does. It does take time, you know, to get the acquisition. But you're right. You're always at the top of the list if you continue to market to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about building that funnel, right? Is that, you know, say, you know, you're not doing any marketing, and then you start, well, it's gonna take like 3 to 6 months before you start to see some of those leads start converting. You know, I always say, as a rule of thumb, everything in business takes 3 months, right? You know, to see the results, good or bad, to work its way through, you know, in terms of people signing up, then paying, and then blah, 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 all of that stuff.
You get that snowball effect, doesn't it? You get your marketing out there, you get your events, you get your name out there, and then all of a sudden it's sort of like you're getting all these people coming in to see you as new clients, and it's sort of like a snowball. Once you get that rolling, it just starts to get more and more and more.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Well, we're going to stick around and answer some questions. So just to quickly sum up what we talked about, you know, I think events are one of the best ways to market your Xero firm. I mean, Wayne is proof of that. They were I think one of the key tactics you had, weren't they, as you grew Findlay and Co.
Yeah, so Xero was a big thing for us, and we became known as, in our area, as the Xero guys. So it may be a bit harder to do now in New Zealand and Australia, but definitely in North America, you know, and the rest of the world, there's a big opportunity there to go out there and market yourselves as the Xero people, and Xero will definitely help you to do that. And actually, they've got a marketing fund as well, haven't they, Matt? So that's what we used it. So you'll get so much of the events paid for. So because you're promoting Xero, they'll give you money.
Yeah, I don't think in New Zealand and Australia, I might be wrong there, but definitely in Canada and the US.
Canada and the US, I think you'll be eligible for that. Talk to your account manager at Xero about that.
Yeah. Yeah, look, and the reason why they work, we've said it a few times, people buy from people, and so getting face time with your potential clients, that's priceless. Yeah, to really sum it up, I think that running events, it's not easy. It's not easy, like there's a lot of hard work involved, but it's not that complicated. So kind of what I mean by that is that there is a tried and tested playbook out there for doing events. We've shared some of that with you today. We're going to send you a checklist after the event, but it's not like it's a new thing. So yeah, there's some effort involved, but it's not like, say, you know, learning SEO, search engine optimization, you know, which is pretty complicated. Events are kind of like, you put the effort in, do a good event, they will deliver for you. So we're going to stick around and answer some of the questions that you've got. If you want to have a chat to myself or anyone from the BizInc team about marketing, we can help you with things like promoting a Xero event. We've actually got a bunch of emails and stuff that we can do around that. Drop us a line, hello@bizinconline.com, or book some time there, bizinconline.com/book a demo. We'll send all these links out rather than having to type them. And if you want to talk to Wayne about offshoring, then it's Wayne@thebackroomop.com. Wayne, do you just want to give like a quick overview of Backroom, and kind of particularly around the Xero difference that you've got?
Yeah, so the way we got started was we used it internally for our Findlay & Co. And then once we sold the practice, we sort of, you know, we sort of developed that further. So we like the Philippines from a time zone. We like the Filipino people from their education and also their accounting ability, and they're really good at following procedures and systems, so they make really good accountants. And so we found a niche with Xero. So right now I think we've got 130 staff in the Philippines, and I would say about 120 of those are Xero certified. So they're all speaking Xero, they love Xero, and which means it's sort of creating a really cool environment. And that makes it easy for us to then deliver training. So as part of our onboarding, we take them under our wing for a week for a start, just to get them schooled up on Xero. And then ongoing, we have regular sort of training on Xero as well. So it's a combination of the two.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll send out, Wayne gave me a fact sheet. We're going to send that out in the email with the follows up the webinar, and you can see Wayne's details there. We'll put those in the email too. So if you'd like to find out more, drop him a line. Got a few minutes more for questions. So I can see a couple of questions are coming in now. Use the Q&A or the chat to ask any questions. So Roz has asked a question. I don't know if you can remember exactly numbers, Wayne, but how many marketing emails would you have sent to attract 15 people to one of your sessions, or would you be able to remember that?
Probably a combination of emails, isn't it? You talk about the rule of 7 or the gravity wheel of marketing, you've got to hit the people from different angles. So yeah, we would definitely send more than one email. We'll be sending maybe 3 or 4 emails.
Yeah.
Using Facebook and a variety of different channels to remind those people, or get them along to your event. Yeah.
I think like I said earlier in that slide, like go hard at the marketing. Like I would say, like show me an accounting firm and I'll say you should be doing more marketing. So there's not many that I'd ever see where I'm going, you're doing enough marketing. So often firms are worrying about like what tactics they should use, and I'd be like, probably worry about that less and just do more marketing. So, I guess the amount of emails you got to send is like, well, have you got, well, what was it? You got 80%, or say, you want to like try and get at least 20 registrations or something like that. So, you're going to get your 15 people turn up on the day. How many does that take? But I know from our marketing, it's often really hard to say what was the exact thing that did it. Was it a webinar? Was it a blog? Was it an email? The answer is it's normally just a combination of those things.
I always remember one thing I listened to and I wrote it up on the wall was D times A equals R. Decisions times actions equals results. So sometimes they're not good results, but you'll get a result. So
yeah.
But even people have decisions and they'll decide on something, but they won't act on it. So
yeah. No, that's really important. That's really, really important, is to just do stuff in marketing. It's and like you say, even a bad result is not necessarily bad because you learn something, right? And you
that next time. So yeah.
So quick question from Roy. Any equipment recommendations for recording the event in the boardroom? So don't put your dictaphone on a jug of water is one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've never recorded one. I've never recorded. We record webinars, so on Zoom we tick, record the webinar automatically. I've never recorded a live event, so I don't know.
No, well, we didn't. We never recorded our events, but we would have, one of our staff or team members in there taking some photos, so then you could do what you said later, is put it on Facebook or put it in the blog about what you've done.
Yeah, cool. All right, very good. Well, that brings us up to the hour, so we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for your questions, everybody, and thanks for coming along. Wayne, thanks very much for coming along today and sharing all that stuff. That's been really useful.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Yeah,
no problem. And we'll send out the recording, the slides, and Wayne's contact details and all of that kind of stuff by tomorrow at the latest. So just leaves me to say, yeah, thanks again for coming along, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Right, yeah. Thank you, everybody. Good to be on board. We'll see you.
Cheers, Wayne. See you later.